The Iron Claw is now out in theaters. Is it any good? Let's find out right now.
The Bonner will forever be the greatest family in the history of wrestling.
Welcome back everyone to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. As I say in the intro, I'm going to be reviewing the Iron Claw today. Before we get started, make sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 500 subscribers. It's free to do so. I'm going to read you guys a quick plot synopsis just so you know what this movie is about. The true story of the inseparable Von Erich brothers who made history in an intensely competitive world of professional wrestling in the early 1980s. Through tragedy and triumph, under the shadow of their domineering father and coach, the brothers seek larger-than-life immortality on the biggest stage in sports. So yeah, this movie is about the Von Erich family, the wrestling family that I didn't know anything about before going into this. I can be honest in saying that I really didn't know who they were. I mean, I'm not really a big wrestling fan, so I wouldn't really know anything about them. Sometimes I see wrestling on TV, but I really don't look up anything about wrestling. So yeah, I didn't know anything about them, but I'm very glad I do know, who they are now after seeing this, because it's a very, emotional, very horrible thing about what happened to all of them, what happened to the brothers and all that. And so this is, a very emotional movie. It might be the most emotional movie of the year, up there with like Past Lives, because this got me to shed tears a couple times during the movie, because it's very sad. It gets to those emotional levels where you're just like over the top, and it's like, oh no, you can't really hold it in anymore, because it's just, there's so much happening in the story. It deals with death and suicide, so just a little bit of warning for you if that does trigger you a little bit. This movie does deal with suicide, because that happened to some of the brothers here, and I think this movie will get anyone to shed a tear, because it really is that sad. And just the score behind it too, the score is great here, and just the whole story, I think, is just, it's so sad, but I think it needs to be told so people really know about these brothers. And A24, I'm happy that they made this film, because I think this will be a big hit for them. If people go and see it, I really recommend that you guys go out and see this. It's one of the best movies of the year, but it's very emotional at times. And Sean Durkin directed this, and I'm not really familiar with any of his work. I think this is the first piece of work I have seen from him. I think he did direct some episodes for that show on Amazon Prime called Dead Ringers with Rachel Weisz. I think he did do some work with that, so if you've seen that, you've seen some of his work. But yeah, this is the first movie I've seen from him, and he absolutely nailed it. He really hit it out of the park with this one. The direction here was flawless, especially in those scenes where the brothers are fighting in the ring and all that, fighting other people. The camera work there was great, where the actors were great, all the moves were great. Like, those were the scenes I was the most worried about, because as I said, I'm not a big wrestling fan. I don't really know much about it, don't really know how people like it that much, but when watching the movie, I was really entertained by it. So maybe I'll get into wrestling a little bit, because it is pretty entertaining how they were doing it, just how it's all planned out and all that, how everyone works really hard in getting into shape and just do these crazy moves. So I really liked it a lot, and I loved how he chose to focus on these characters in these moments when you really have to, and it just makes the emotional levels go even higher. So Sean Durkin, man, I'm gonna have to look out for him, look out for his other movies, because he nailed it here. I mean, he's not gonna get in the best director nomination for this, but he's close. He really brought it here. And I do want to talk about our cast for a little bit for this one, because the cast really has to bring it together when you have such an emotional story about the brothers in this. And Stanley Simmons, who plays Mike Von Erich, he did a great job. Never heard of him before, but he did a great job. He really got me to tear up in one of his scenes, because something bad does happen to his character, and I won't really go into depth with it, because I know some of you watching have never heard of these people, never heard of the story, and I want you to go in at the same thoughts that I did, go in with no expectations. Harris Dickinson, who I am familiar with, plays David Von Erich. He did great. Jeremy Allen White, we all know Jeremy Allen White plays Kerry Von Erich. He absolutely did fantastic. Has a couple standout scenes. And Holt McCallany, I think that's how you say it, plays the dad, Fritz Von Erich. He was really great, kind of terrifying in some spots. You can tell why, those boys and brothers wanted to, be good for their dad, because, he was kind of, he was an interesting, person for them. That's all I'll say for that. But Zac Efron is the main lead of this, playing Kevin Von Erich, the oldest one in the family. He's actually the second oldest, which they explain in the movie, because the oldest, I think, their oldest son in this family died when they were like 5 or 5.5. I don't really remember the whole age on that, but Zac Efron, wow, what a performance by him. I think that this is his best performance to date, because if you look at his, movies, he's not really in too many serious movies, I would say. He's in a lot of comedies and High School Musical, the musicals. That's the first thing that I saw him in was those. He's great in those. He's great in those comedic roles like 17 again, but this is, his best role in my opinion. He really knocked everything out of the park here, and I will get on this train right now. He deserves to get in a spot for a Best Actor nomination. I don't care who I've got to push out, but I think he deserves it for this role. I've never seen him as good as he is in here, and I've never seen him, be as emotional here and with so many different emotions brewing through him. His physical shape, he's great here, but I really would push anyone out for him, except like Killian or Paul Giamatti. I'd push anyone out because I think he deserves it. I'm on that train. If he gets snubbed, I'll be really upset. If I get a surprise nomination, I'll be very happy for him. But everyone here did great. Jeremy White especially, but Zac Efron stole the show, especially with that final scene. That final scene was so devastating, but he was just great. Everyone here in this cast was great. You have such a great cast here, such a great director here. I was just, it's one of those things where you have to have a great cast, have to have a great director. That's how Poor Things was. This is kind of the same way. This is a big drama movie, has to all work out in a perfect way. And the pace here, the pace is terrific. I was a little bit worried that it was going to go on for a little too long, but it's a terrific pace, and I never thought it was too slow or too fast. I think it flew perfectly, especially when you have such emotional moments in here. And when you have such emotional moments in any movie, I feel like sometimes it slows it down really too far, but I thought that it didn't slow it down here. They keep going with the story, keep going with these characters, and you can just feel the emotional weight just going up and up and up through the whole movie, and then they completely wreck you by the end with those last lines. So man, The Iron Claw, it's such an amazing movie, one of the best movies of the year. I cannot wait to go watch this again, but at the same time I don't want to, because it's so sad, so devastating to watch these characters go through what they had to go through. The Von Erich family, devastating story for them. But I overall loved this movie, The Iron Claw. I think that Sean Durkin did a great job directing it. Zac Efron gives his best performance to date, in my opinion. He deserves to get an Oscar nomination for this. But I'm going to give The Iron Claw a strong 9 out of 10. That could go up on a rewatch, and look for it in my top 10 movies of the year video, because it's definitely going to be there. Leave your thoughts down below if you did watch The Iron Claw. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.